Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Welcome to What's the Deal with COVID-19 Vaccine, with COVID-19 Vaccine. And today we have with us a community leader who is also a resident of the community, Miss Nicole Crooks.
Good morning. How are you?
Thank you for agreeing to join us today. And momentarily, Andre Williams will be hopping on. He's actually working right now. He's working hard. He has a show called Wake Up Miami. We definitely encourage you to tune in and check it out. He does that every day. I'm super impressed with his ability, but he is also a Overtown resident. He is a community man, and we'll have him hop on and join us momentarily. While we wait, let's start with Nicole, if you will tell us who you are and what you do.
All right. So my name is Nicole Crooks, and good morning, Andre.
Good morning, Andre. We don't hear you.
No, we can't hear you.
No. Okay, thank you. I hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes, we hear you now. So go ahead, Nicole. Tell us who you are.
All right.
I am the son of Joyce. Nah. My name is Andre Soul Williams. I am the CEO and founder of iUrban TV, which is a community internet broadcasting company that specializes in media production and content creation.
Okay. And Nicole?
And so first and foremost, I'm the proud mother of 3 of the most amazing children in the world. I had to throw that out there.
We'll buy
it. And I'm also a community member here in Overtown. My family and I have lived here since 2011. And I'm also a community engagement coordinator for the Overtown community with Catalyst Miami.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today this morning. So I was asked to try to do a show that was all about community concerns around the vaccine. And I knew I had to have these 2 voices because they are leaders in this community, as well as being leaders, in my own in totality. I really have a pulse on what, in particular, people of color are thinking about the vaccine. So I did want to have sort of a candid conversation with both of you about, how we can move the needle, no pun intended, forward when it comes to thinking about how, if we should take the vaccine or not. I'll start with a simple question, somewhat evasive, so I do apologize. Have both of you been vaccinated?
Yes, I've been vaccinated.
Okay, both shots? You've received both shots?
I received both shots, yes.
Okay. And Nicole?
I did.
Okay. Tell me, were you first concerned about taking the vaccine? And then what was the deciding factor? Why did you change your mind?
So for me, I was not planning on getting the vaccine, at least for a year. So I could kind of see what happened, because there's still, honestly, there is a bit of concern even now about the ramifications, because it just seems like it happened so quickly for me personally. And I changed my mind because I was going to be going out of the country, and I didn't want there to be any issues coming back, which is why I decided to go ahead and get it.
Okay. And you, Andre, what was your motivation?
So my motivation was, in 2016, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So I had to be very careful with my health. And I just felt like my urologist sent me something in the mail suggesting and urging, like, hey, I know you don't have any respiratory illnesses, but you are in a fight with dealing with cancer. I think it would be best for you to go ahead and get the shot. And so I evaluated, and I felt like, because some people were apprehensive, like saying, hey, well, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the outcome. Some people have taken the shot and have died and da-da-da-da-da. And so I thought to myself, well, if cancer ain't take me out, then I'm not going to worry about the shot.
Absolutely.
Go ahead and do it, because I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I went ahead and took it. And I didn't let them shoot me in the same arm, though. It doesn't make a difference. It's just a joke that I had them shoot me in 2 separate arms. It was like, you want the same arm? I was like, no. Spread it out, right? So
balance it out on either side.
Right, balance it out on either side. I want a balance going on here. Maybe that might help. I don't know, but yeah. And so it's been okay. It hasn't been bad.
So, okay, so you touch upon a little bit with regards to, of course, our communities. One of our biggest challenges when COVID came down was, our comorbidity. We have some medical issues. Unfortunately, I hope everything is well with you, Andre. How do we do that better so that we aren't in a predicament of being vulnerable to diseases like this that we can't control and have no control over, really? How do we do that better?
I think that is a simple thing. I think we've strayed so far from our original customs as a community, right? Strayed so far away from out because everybody wants everything immediately. So when you want everything fast, you don't have time enough to do the slow processing stuff. That includes diet. That includes a level of spirituality. And I think that diet is really key. Like, it's an upper respiratory illness. I think that, we eat a lot. When you eat out a lot, you're subjected to a lot of germs because a lot of people are handling your food. It's just different little things that I think accumulated to it being what it is now, that if we went back to, then we wouldn't necessarily have to take a vaccine. We will already have these healthy practices in place that will build our immune system up, and that will keep us, within a realm of what we operate within our community and not have to worry about these things falling on us and becoming victims of it. But COVID was very real. And I think just being precautious, and for me, taking the vaccine and just getting vaccinated as an extra level of protection is not
never harmful. Yeah. Well, Nicole, I'm interested, since you're sort of are on the ground, on the boots, knowing what kind of is going on in the community. When you talk to residents and people in the neighborhood, is the apprehension about our history? Or are there other factors that people are concerned about that we're not taking into consideration?
So first and foremost, we have to consider the history of the health disparities, the medical disparities. And a lot of times we talk about Tuskegee, but we don't talk about things that are even more recent, including last year. You know what I mean? So like when we talk about the distrust of the whole medical system, that's the reality that we definitely have to. There's a lot of feedback. I'm sorry. So there are like a lot of disparities that we really have to address and look at. The other piece is when we talk about the location and the way in which the education has been, like, in terms of educating people about the vaccine and about all of these things, and even in terms of the locations of the center. The thing that was really apparent from the very beginning is that it was almost like we were an afterthought to having the location set up in our community after there was a big fight, right? And so when you look at that doesn't increase trust, right? That part.
We know it.
Right?
We know it.
Right? And so it was interesting because even when we received, like, even when the vaccine center was set up over here, a lot of people that I spoke to said that they weren't going to go here, right? They were going to go to a different community, but then they noticed the demographic of the people that were coming here, and so it seemed to make it a little bit safer, right? And I found that kind of interesting, right? Like I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then
you call the thing a thing, it was because a lot of white people were in line.
Okay.
Call a thing because a lot of white people were in line.
Right?
It's okay because the white people are going.
So,
We gotta do better. We gotta do better.
Yes.
Yes.
And then like really also like thinking about like how welcoming was it too? Because initially before I was even going to book the shot and I went by the location where we were, and I don't know what it was like in other places. So I'm just talking about this space in particular. There was a lot of police presence, right? And so like what was that about? And does that make people really want to go when you're already in a situation where there's a huge mistrust,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
So like what were the like what were the messages that were being sent? And why were we not a part of number one, deciding the location, right? In terms of community input and feedback. I think a lot of times what happens is a lot of things are done to us and for us without us, right? And so
Yeah.
like if we have a part in determining what it'll look like, and even in terms of paying people from the community to educate community members about the importance of it, right? It's just like we're left out and decisions are made for us. And then I hear, well, people are not doing it. We're going to shut it down.
Right.
Like people are not
Because it's
participating.
closing.
Right.
It's closing June 30th because nobody in the neighborhood is coming. So then I'm going to challenge both of you to think you have got the ear of the CDC and all of the decision makers. What would you have advised them to do? How would you have them approach our communities and really promote the need to take the vaccine, the process by which we made it accessible? What would your recommendation have been if you were sitting in front of Anthony Fauci today and our local administration? Go ahead, Andre, I'll let you start. That's a lot of power. And let's be careful, that's a lot of power.
I first of all, I will let Nicole speak, and I would just be standing there like, and she said
No,
it.
you won't. We both know you well. That's not happening in a
I would.
million years.
Trust me, change man right now, right? But no, I would, because what she said was key. The inclusion, when you include somebody from a community in a decision, they feel like they're a part of it, and I've learned that. See, this is Allegheny Franciscan Ministries training right here. Cohort, right? That's how I know how to be a leader, because I know how to be a follower. That's why I would stand behind her and be here. I would be. She said it. I don't need to come on top of her to try to sound super intelligent. She said it. When you include this community in something that you're doing, it feels like it's a partnership, a part of it, and it creates ownership. I'm owning to this. And so therefore, the trust level raises.
But how are you being inclusive when it comes to something like a vaccine and a pandemic?
So, in a vaccine, the pandemic, they chose testing sites. I'm quite sure somebody has some say in it or agreements, but what they do is they come up and determine this is best location. So they'll say, hey, this is best location. And you'll be like, okay, well, yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, I guess it'll work. Okay, I understand why. And they'll have best location based on a number of factors. If I had the ear, I would definitely say the inclusion of, I would definitely say empowering those local entities that have the influence over the community, that the community can actually touch, feel, see, that they see walking in it, that they see being a part of it. That's who I would trust. I saw, okay, Nicole is over there. Nicole is doing it. Well, maybe I could, Nicole, and I can talk to her really realistically about what's going on. I feel like that is what I would say to them, like, yeah, what she said, the inclusion thereof, and just, even if it's just simply notifying, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is do it. What do you think about it? You may still roll with the plan, but at least you're giving me the benefit of the doubt to give some type of input.
That you care.
You just place it on me, then it's like, whatever.
Nicole, your thoughts of what you want to add on to what that conversation should be?
No, I definitely think Andre said it. And really in terms of education, where each one can teach one. And then people can enter and make their decisions based on having all of the knowledge.
Yeah.
I think systemically, and I think you mentioned it earlier, we've had such a history with the medical industry. And so, most people have been very surprised, and I guess in a way I have been too, sort of how easily politics has been able to influence this medical decision. Um, that it sort of played a larger part with something that they don't know anything about over the medical industry. But when I look at our communities, I'm not that shocked by that because we haven't trusted the government or medical industry. So, were you shocked by that? The fact that the political world, the national political world, took charge of a COVID, a medical situation, and tried to dispel the myths from the medical industry. What were your thoughts around that, and how did that make people on the ground feel comfortable and safe, and in particular, people of color?
First thing you think when you hear shot, you think conspiracy, right?
Right, right.
Right? You think conspiracy. Immediately, as a Black person, you think Tuskegee. You think, okay.
It don't even
Then
matter
when
where
the
you go
government
from.
becomes involved in it, right? You think it even more. Like, wait a minute. That's the initial reaction. You think even more like, why are they, getting into this like this to this extent? And yeah, there's a lot of thought processes behind it. There's a lot of thought processes in regards to the amendment and the Constitution as we know it, and the changing of it and the reset. As some people are saying, this is a reset, and it's not the pandemic, it's the pandemic. Like systematically, putting things in place. Could that be a possibility? Yeah, it looks like that, especially when you got political involvement in it, right? Way into the capacity that it is. I'm still figuring that out. I'm still looking at that. I'm still observing that. And I'm also monitoring my body, how it is and how it's reacting to obtaining the shot. But then I think one side could be like, oh, it could be bad and it could hurt you. And then the other part of it is, well, maybe it could be a fluke where it actually heals everything in your body. Who knows?
Exactly. We don't know. We're guinea pigs anyway. So, every last
guinea pigs with everything.
We were guinea pigs when COVID came out. So.
Right. And then the 5G, remember they did the whole 5G thing too, along like
right. Just like we're guinea pigs. It don't matter.
So we all guinea pigs. Yeah.
So Nicole, how do we emotionally, as people, not worried about the government or what the medical industry is saying, how do we reconcile emotionally, psychologically, mentally, physically, all the things that we need to come to terms with to make an informed decision around, should we vaccinate, should we not vaccinate, should we trust this process, not trust this process? What do you advise people to do to get to the decision that is best for them and their family?
So I stand behind the fact that it's a deeply personal decision, and it's something that we have to go into informed, as with anything, right? So we talk about the politics. We also, when you talk about calling a thing, we also have to talk about the deeply rooted sense of racism, structural, right? And bias. Within the system. We have to talk about all of those things. We have to talk about the economics, right? We have to talk about the monumental losses. And we have to talk about the self-care piece. I have to throw my little shout out there to Girl Trek and Girl Trek Overtown. So when we talk about really, as Andre was saying, really taking ownership and responsibility for our lives, our bodies, our communities, our loved ones, COVID had absolutely no chill in our communities, right? Like 2020, it beat us up. I know in my circle, it was more than 20 deaths as a result of COVID, right? And so like really looking at the deep-seated grief and trauma that was a part of that. And so like really kind of like digging in and saying, okay, how are we going to treat ourselves and our bodies better, and really make the conscious effort to learn as much as possible so that whatever decision we make is based from a sense of being informed and aware, right? I think a lot of times we leave it up to other people to take care of us, and they just don't. Like, we
Right.
look at the disparities historically, right? And so we can't do that anymore. We have to take responsibility for our choices in our lives based on the understanding that nobody is going to save us but us.
Amen. You hit it.
High five.
High five,
Let's go, Nicole.
You'll have to see you
go.
later to get the real high five.
Let's go.
Now that y'all vaccinated, y'all can be in the same room and do an actual high five.
And sometimes I get kind of cocky because I'll be taking my mask down, like, and people will be like, because I was at the eye doctor, the doctor was like, put your mask up. I was like, oh yeah, I've been vaccinated though, but yeah, you're right. But quick, CDC said you can now walk without your mask and don't have to worry about social distance if you've been fully vaccinated. I've been fully vaccinated. Do I trust that?
If you're with other people who are vaccinated.
Right, who are vaccinated. Right, and even
that's the problem. We don't know. That. There's no stamp on our forehead. Like,
but let me share something. What this reminds me of? This reminds me of when the new iPhone come out, right? Like, you got the new, right, Nicole? Right? You got the new iPhone? Nah, I'm gonna wait to see what happens, because sometimes when they release it, it's not good. You have to wait.
Right. That's me.
Here's the thing. Eventually, you're going to get it. Eventually, you're going to get it. And I don't know. I thought that they were going to tell people that in order to travel on the cruise lines, in order to travel on an airplane, I really think on an airplane, it definitely should be. Everyone should be vaccinated. I thought that they were going to say that, but what's going to probably happen is they're going to say, no, it's okay, go ahead. Then if we get another surge,
now all of a sudden we're going to freak out again.
We tried to do it this way, it didn't work. Okay, now everybody must be vaccinated in order to travel. And I think that they want to put that, because that's the systematic way of controlling people. It is. And ultimately, that's what they want to do, right? Have more control. And I think that will probably come into play. We might not see it, but it's going to come. I feel like it's going to come into play eventually.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a couple of people make the statement that it's not going to go away because of the vaccine. And I'm not, when I decided to do this, that wasn't my expectation. I mean, we have the flu vaccine. We have, all these different kinds of vaccines that we're still taking because it's not gone. But, for me, the decision was really about, when this first thing broke, like you mentioned, Nicole, there were so many people dying around, in particularly our neighborhood. We had some of the highest cases of COVID-19, purely because of our environment, not even by choice. Folks had to go to work. Folks had to get out into the world, and they didn't have all of the proper protections because they couldn't, in some cases, afford it. There was no thought around how to keep those communities available. So in that kind of circumstance, we had an overwhelmed medical system, and you can't get any help. You stuck at home with something that may kill you, and there's no help out there. So for me, the vaccine was just a little bit of hope, that I might be able to survive through this thing no matter what. So as you mentioned earlier, we have a site that was put up maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And we are now going to close on June 30th. But we will not have a community that's completely vaccinated. What are your thoughts around that? And what would you advise family and friends to do if they should make that decision and it's not right? It's no longer right down the street.
Well, the funny part that I think is Walgreens is giving a shot, right? Free.
Yeah, which is technically down the street too.
Technically down the street. Now, they didn't say they were going to stop giving shots at the Walgreens. Now it's more controlled. Now it's more centralized. Now it's more, as opposed to, whenever my thing, this is a conspiracy theory for me. We'll say, oh, all of a sudden, I don't know, what if it happens again? Oh, all this is happening to us. And then they'll say, who is they? Okay. They'll say, well, we had the camp in your area. They did. What can you say? it and you didn't go do it, but we put it right in your area. So who can you blame if something does go south?
Right.
And nobody but yourself, because you had the opportunity, you just didn't take it.
Right. Absolutely.
And they, I'm gonna get a shirt that says, "Who are they?"
They, right.
I promise you.
Tell me who they are.
They are gonna be like, well, hey, you had the opportunity, you didn't seize the opportunity, so who can you blame?
Right.
And when you look at it like that, because everything is political, right? It's like, really, who could you blame? You can't blame yourself because you didn't seize the opportunity when the opportunity was in front of you. Now, everything in life is a gamble, and this is crazy about seizing opportunity, because everything in life is a gamble. You don't know. But what if we gamble right?
Right.
We gamble right, and we good and everything, because they are doing those clouds. They spraying all the stuff in the air over our communities. We know that. What they call them? What they call them? Stream, not something clouds, where they dump all, and that is what's causing respiratory illnesses, huh? Chemtrails. That's it.
Okay.
That's what's causing respiratory issues in our community, if you really look at it, right? So it's like we have the opportunity. If there was one thing I could say to people to bring it all in, hey, listen, you need to evaluate and you need to make a decision. And whatever decision you make it, that includes me, you, and Nicole, good, bad, or indifferent, we made that decision and we got to stand by it.
Based on the right decision, right? Information.
For us. Based on the right decision for us, because it may not be right for somebody else. But
absolutely. I agree with that. Nicole, go ahead. I'll let you have the final word and the final say.
All right. Well, I think also we need to talk about in terms of even knowing where the location is. So there are a couple of questions that I have personally with it being closed. So what does that mean for people who got their first shot there? Because I know there's Johnson & Johnson there, but there's also Moderna. So what about the people who have not gotten the second Moderna shot? What does that mean for them, right? And then the other thing that came up a lot was that there was a lot of confusion even in terms of the location of it, right? So what does that mean? And I think that, and I hear you, Andre, and I also know that there's also like a lot of times we blame the quote unquote victims, right, of the situation. And I think at some point we really have to look at the system and systemically and say, okay, well, what is this? What does this mean? And really bring the community in for empowerment. Like, what are the options for the people who got that's one of my questions. So for the people who did get Moderna there, right, and their second one is coming up afterwards, then what?
Where they're supposed to go.
How are we going to get that information out? Because the information, it wasn't well advertised anyway.
That's true.
There's two locations, right? Because there's a location at CIC that's called Converge.
Oh,
that's
do you consider that one of our locations? Because I've not heard anything about that.
It's still in Overtown because that's a part of Overtown.
But Overtown,
but we're not going over there.
And Andre, like, honestly, we love the CIC, right? The CIC is amazing, but do we feel welcome? Do we feel like that's a part of us? Even though, yes, it is. It's in the Overtown zip code. But the reality is that oftentimes we don't think of it as being for us.
You know what? You're the bomb. I like that. It's true. It's true. It's true. And then I guess the other one is the one you guys are talking about is on First, right?
It's over there by Dorsey Park.
Right, by Dorsey Park.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for agreeing to do this. I really wanted to get a community voice because even though we're talking specifically about our neighborhood, which is Overtown in Miami-Dade, this is happening all over the country, all over the world. Everybody has a neighborhood that is not getting served in the way we feel they could be served. And my hope is we'll use this pandemic and this process with regards to the vaccine as a way to really improve some of these processes when it comes to communities of color, communities that have some challenges, particularly because we just don't understand each other. We don't know enough about what's going on in each other's lives. Someone told me the other day, one of the concerns is people going to work. If you don't know that, and that's not an issue for you, that's just not something you at the forefront of your concern. So
Right.
we just got to have better conversations around that. I thank you both. Go ahead. You want to say
So
something?
just one more thing, just to kind of like also throw out Catalyst Miami, because one of the things that we have to know is our power as a people and our collective and individual power. So when we talk about advocacy, listen, y'all connect with Catalyst Miami and just know that in terms of the education and the leadership development that is able to occur through that, and working together to be able to make sure that our voices and our feelings and our needs are elevated. Yeah, we're the bomb at that. I just wanted to kind of throw out the
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Amen.
We would like to thank our sponsors for this project. That is the Urban Health Partnership, the Health Foundation of South Florida, the Overtown Children and Youth Coalition, and the Overtown Youth Center. They have been great partners in this effort, and we really appreciate it. We will be doing another show. We'll be doing a series of shows until the site closes. So we got to probe all this and get out as much information out as we can to try to get more people to make an informed decision. Next week, we will have Dr. Dorothy Fields, who is our local historian. And actually, I won't even say local. She's definitely a national historian who's a wealth of information and really can bring to light some of the concerns, the historical concerns we've had with regards to medical disparities, in conjunction with Dr. Khadijah Nicholas. So that's going to be a very interesting conversation because we'll have sort of a medical perspective and we'll have a historical perspective, and we can hopefully bring those two together and find some synergy there. So thank you so very much to both of you. I called and they answered the call. So thank you so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night.
Definitely good to see you, Andre.
Okay. Thank you.